makes a girl boss? Originally, in 2014, the term was used to describe women pushing into male-dominated areas, exhibiting ambition, determination, and confidence. However, in modern times, it's become something altogether more critical. Modern feminists have scrutinized the term for pushing a superficial brand of feminism, and instead of being used as a term of respect, it's often used to criticize female leaders who have supposedly prioritized their own success at the expense of others. So, the term changes meaning depending on whom you ask and when. It's entirely possible that everyone in this room has a differing definition of what a girl boss is. But instead of squabbling over the technicalities of what a girl boss has been defined as in the past, I think instead we must turn our attention to what a girl boss needs to be in the future. Naturally, as a classics student, when trying to answer this question, I turned first to its ancient origins. Whilst the term itself is tied to modern-day lexicon, the girl boss archetype can be traced back thousands of years to the sprawling world of ancient myth and literature. From warriors to respected leaders, there are so many depictions of strong-willed women in the ancient world. But whilst these characters were revered by the ancients, their stories have become lost in translation. Their characters are diminished and demonized, if not altogether forgotten, in favor of stories of male heroism. We know of Achilles, his ferocity and his unmatched fighting skill. But we don't know of Penthesilea, warrior queen of the Amazons, a match to Achilles. In fact, to see the origins of female empowerment, it is the Amazons we must turn to. A far cry from the patriarchal society of mainland ancient Greece, the Amazons were a matriarchal society of warrior women, trained from birth not for weaving or childbirth, but for battle. The ethos of male crews relied predominantly on personal glory. We might consider Achilles' selfish refusal to fight in the Trojan War, leading to the deaths of hundreds of his comrades, or how Odysseus is the only one who makes it back at the end of the Odyssey, despite setting out with a crew of more than 600 men. But whilst the notion of brotherhood is far from many of these male crews, the notion of sisterhood lies at the very heart of Amazon society, who fight and die together. The Amazons, a self-sufficient tribe of women, show that bold women existed loudly in the ancient world. And from suffragette movements to modern-day superheroes such as Wonder Woman, they have paved the way for future generations of girl bosses, influencing culture millennia later. We know of Aeneas and his founding of Rome, but what of Dido, successfully founding her own city before he even set foot on Italian soil? Dido is most commonly seen as the frenzied and tragic lover of Aeneas, selfishly cursing him and killing herself when he abandons her. But by viewing her entirely through the lens of Aeneas, we completely overlook her true character. Dido founds the land on which Carthage is situated through cunning and intelligence, not bloodshed like her male counterpart. Once Carthage is secure, she becomes the respected and unattested leader of Carthage, ruling with confidence and diligence that Aeneas himself cannot but admire. She self-proclaims that she uses her own suffering to aid the suffering of others. So why do we hear so much about her frenzy and not her empathy? Why do we know all about her selfishness and not her organization? Dido is far more than a scorned woman or wounded lover. She is a driven and respected queen of Carthage, every inch the girl boss. Psyche also falls victim to this treatment. She is a mortal woman who journeys to the underworld, completes seemingly impossible tasks whilst battling the rage of a goddess, an almost identical story to that of the widely known Hercules. Although we might consider that she completes these tasks for love, and he completes these tasks as penance for brutally murdering his wife and children. I guess those details wouldn't make for a very good Disney movie. Ironically, whether it is the sisterhood of the Amazons, the diligence and organization of Dido, or the determination of Psyche, when trying to answer the question of what a modern girl boss should be, ironically, it's the ancients we must turn to. But why, at a conference discussing modern women, are we turning to ancient ones? Why are we comparing the experiences of women in 2024 to the experiences of women in the 8th century BC? Unfortunately, the answer is quite simple. The issues faced by women in the ancient times are not confined to those long-lost days, but continue to be felt millennia later. Women, particularly those in male-dominated industries such as the technology industry, routinely have their achievements overlooked, diminished, and forgotten. To prove this point, we look to female pioneers of the technological world such as Hedy Lamarr. Characterized as a Hollywood starlet in the 20th century and known most commonly for her scandalous and controversial roles, most people are entirely unaware that she co-invented the frequency hopping concept, a concept intrinsic to the progression of wireless communications such as Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Completely forgotten in her lifetime, people are still unaware that it was largely her contributions that allow us to send a simple text. Or we might look to Adele Goldberg, who invented the Smalltalk code, a code which later influenced other languages such as Python and Java used every day in the tech industry. Furthermore, we all know the success of the Apple brand. I'm sure many people in this room own phones and MacBooks. But did you know that it was Adele Goldberg's work on graphic user interfaces that influenced the original Apple Mac? Or finally, we look to Radia Pellman, who created the spanning tree algorithm, which solved important issues surrounding the organization and moving of data. She is known by many as the mother of the internet. Yet whilst the fathers of bacteriology, the World Wide Web, or the light bulb are present in textbooks and curricula worldwide, the mother of the internet remains poignantly absent, even though she's such a critical part of our everyday lives. Just like the ancient world, the tech industry has been molded by the hands of women who are all too often forgotten. So how do we stop this? How do we ensure that the treatment of the girl bosses of our past does not extend to the girl bosses of our future? This brings me back to my original question. What makes a girl boss? I do believe that girl bosses are women who are diligent, driven, bold, and courageous. But most importantly to me, girl bosses are women who are not only empowered, but seek to empower others. True girl bosses are women who actively help to challenge stereotypes, break barriers, and pave the way to a more inclusive future for everyone. This can be done in 3 main ways. Firstly, we need to strengthen support networks. Organizations such as Girls Who Code are already equipping girls with the confidence and skill set they need to thrive in male-dominated areas. These networks must be strengthened so that all girls have access to the mentorship and support they need to progress into the working world. Secondly, we must advocate for more inclusive policies that seek to end issues faced by women in the workplace, such as the gender pay gap and workplace harassment. Critically, this means holding companies accountable for creating environments that welcome the next generation of girl bosses instead of dismiss them. Finally, and most importantly, we must make a concerted effort to champion the achievements of the girls of our past, present, and future. Pellman, Lamarr, and Goldberg must be recognized before they too become lost in translation like their ancient counterparts. We must correct these historical oversights, not only to ensure that these women's brilliance is recognized, but also to entrench female role models in the next generation of girl bosses. Girls must see themselves reflected in the pages of their textbooks. Only by doing this can we ensure that we give justice to the girl bosses of our past, as well as empower the girl bosses that define our future.